Hey everyone, and welcome to episode number 4 of Coffee with Jeff and Bedros. We have a lot of great content for you guys this week, and let's go ahead and just get started with our week in review.
Yes, indeed.
So somebody had a birthday last week.
I had a birthday last week. I turned a whopping 43 years old.
For the second time?
For the second time, yeah. I was just telling these guys the story of that. All of last year, while I was 42, I went around telling people I'm 43 years old. I had just lost count. And one day my wife hears me say that, and she goes, "No, dummy, you're actually 43. And so, you're actually 42. So I got a year younger last year, and now I'm back to 43 again, which is exciting.
Awesome. So tell me about your birthday weekend. What did you have going on?
Yeah, so what did I do? I went to Montage. I went to
nice.
Montage for the weekend in Laguna Beach and just relax. It's pretty rare that I get to turn it off and relax, so I got to kick back and relax. Yeah, there's a wedding going on there, in fact, while we were out there, and it's a really beautiful spot. And then, before we went to Montage, 2 days before this, I walked into the headquarters and I noticed everybody was wearing white and black suits, and I couldn't figure out what was going on other than something's going on. And then I saw one of our team members wearing, if you remember what Uma Thurman wore, her wig, when she played Mia in Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
With the bangs. And I knew instantly what was going on. It was a Pulp Fiction.
You didn't get it when you saw Josh's wig? You're just like, whatever?
Well, I didn't see Josh until I got up there, yeah. So it was a Pulp Fiction themed birthday party, surprise birthday party the team had for me. Oh, you guys have a video or something here?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, check this out.
So you didn't know yet?
At this point, I had a clue something's going on because they're being suspicious.
Nice. DJ and everything.
Yeah. Anyways, so that was fun. That was entertaining. And then the only other thing I got going on now is that building that I bought that I regretted. Remember down the street here?
You're going to turn into your garage and
Yeah, exactly. So the build-out process has begun. And my friend Victor at Treadmill Factory out in Canada decided that he's going to help me outfit the whole thing and floor plan it. So it's going to like a really sweet private gym that me, our team, and all of us here could use. So it'll be a fun
So the
place.
person that you rented it to is just taking the front's part of it?
Yeah, so he's going to use the whole personal training floor.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm going to park my cars in the back, and then he's going to have his offices upstairs.
Perfect.
Yeah. So it worked out really great. What do you got going on?
So I had a pretty busy week. I had the War Room Mastermind with Ryan Dice, and we had some pretty cool visitors. Childhood idol Tony Hawk was there and telling his story. I got his signature on his Bones Brigade board. It's a reissue. He looked to see if it was an original, but I had the original when I was a kid. It was all scratched up. Probably sold at a yard sale or something.
Got it. Is the original worth something
Yeah,
more now?
because before he signed it, he looked, and but here's it's a reissue in 2017.
I see.
So, but he was still kind enough to sign it for me.
How was it like meeting Tony Hawk?
It was great. He's a really cool guy. His story is amazing. Some of the key takeaways was, he's known for landing the first one to land the 900. Well, he's practiced that for 10 years and couldn't land it. And every time he would try and miss, he knew what he did wrong. So the next time he went to attempt it, he would make the adjustment. He kept getting closer and closer and closer. And then the one time when he actually thought he almost landed it, just over-rotated a little bit, fell and broke his ribs. So in between attempts, he's getting really hurt. So it's could be months, in between. But he thought that he did everything right. He didn't know what he did wrong, and he still didn't land it. So he started to think it was impossible. And then at the X Games, I don't know if it was 96 or something like that, he landed it in competition for the first time. He just went for it.
Isn't that something? That's proof that most successful people are usually a 10 or 15 year overnight success, and it's just no one sees the work that gets put in.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And then one of the other things is once his name started getting big, and all these big marketing companies and media companies started exploiting, figuring out ways to make money with his name. He was just signing deals because he was broke. Skateboarders at the time weren't making any money, even professional ones. He had his board, and he was getting $5 checks a month from the sales of the boards and stuff. So he was just signing, all these endorsement deals. And the one time he found out, the guy was putting his name on everything from cheap keychains and lighters and toilet paper, even had his name and logo on it. So, that was a big lesson that he learned is to, be true to your values,
Yeah.
true to your brand. Don't give in, when you first start making it, the reason they start coming to you is for a reason. So know what your value is, and have a good lawyer look over your paperwork before you start signing this stuff.
Yeah. Well,
So
the good news is he probably never made that mistake again.
No, and he actually was at that point. He was in a position where he could buy himself out of the contract and take his name off all that crap.
Good for him.
So
Good
that
for
was
him.
cool.
Now, you also took a little trip over the weekend with some of our friends. Where'd you go?
We went to Austin, Texas, to Inland Surf Park. So it's the first, wave park, in the United States. There's Shanta. The water was actually brown. I put a nice green filter on this to make it look better. And it was more like a wake than it was a wave. It was still fun, but we were a little disappointed until we figured it out, and then we had some fun on it. But yeah, the wake, it actually pulls you out back into this whitewash. You have to keep fighting to stay at the front, whereas in a real wave, it actually pushes you, into the face, so it makes it much easier.
How big were the waves, like height-wise?
So here, 6 feet, 5-6 feet is what they were saying. You can see it's about head height from here.
Wow, that's pretty cool,
So
man.
yeah, it was fun. I don't know if I'd go back just for that again. If I was in Austin, I'd probably go check it out.
But I mean, if you're in Austin, did you guys go to 6th Street, maybe hit the
Oh
bars?
yeah, we went to 6th Street.
Yeah, that's a cool place to be. It's a
Sent you
really cool place.
some good videos of Shanta,
Yeah,
having
we
some
got
fun
more
there.
blackmail videos of our friend Chanta there. So yeah, we'll be getting extorting him for many years to come. Many years to come. What about you met someone who is pretty badass in the entrepreneurial world? Who did you
Yeah, so
meet?
there's another person at the War Room meeting in Newport, Robert Cialdini, The Power of Influence. This is his new book, Persuasion, which is really cool. It's what you say to somebody to set the tone before you go to persuade them. It's pretty interesting.
Nice.
And yeah, he just gave a whole lecture on persuasion, and it's pretty fascinating. Pretty fascinating stuff that we could apply right away to all of our marketing campaigns. And
Those of you who don't know, Robert Cialdini wrote a book called Influence, and he talks about the 6 weapons of influence. And I thought that was a game changer when that came out. I haven't read Persuasion yet, but I've heard from many of the guys and gals in our space that it's definitely a game changer. As well.
I was talking with him and his wife at the party, and he was like, he has no formal training on persuasion or NLP or any of that stuff. He's just a researcher. And what he did, he went through every major organization's sales training. He either sat in on their sales training or went through it as a customer, and then just took notes and found the common threads through all the major big companies and how they sold. And that's how he came up with those 6 principles.
Brilliant. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's a lecturer at Arizona State or something, right? Yeah. Yeah. So someone who does research doesn't need to do NLP because he can just do the research and actually get the nuggets that work.
Yeah, and his book didn't sell at all when he first wrote it because he didn't write it for the marketing and sales world. He wrote it, more for the, for university, and nobody bought it. And then it was like, I don't know if it was like a couple years later, the sales started picking up, and he found out that it was, marketers and salesmen that were buying his book, and then it really took off. It became a New York Times bestseller like 3 years after, after he launched it.
Oh, no kidding.
So, yeah.
There's hope for me after all. That's great. That's great. And man, in other news, so Chester from LinkedIn, I'm sure the word's gotten out now, has committed suicide. And this only came, a couple months after another one of his bandmates?
Yeah, after Chris Cornell, I think it was in May, did the same, he died the same way.
Yeah, I know a lot of people talked about, like the media talked about his history of drug abuse and alcohol use. And of course, he was abused as a kid. He's survived by 6 kids from 2 different wives. But really the bigger thing here is mental health, man.
Mindset, mental health, and how to how you identify with what labels you put on yourself, and stuff like that. As an entrepreneur, there's they say like 30% of entrepreneurs are reporting history of depression. It's like 29% ADHD, 27% have anxiety, and it's the mental health and the mindset part of being an entrepreneur is huge, and that's one of the main things you've been focusing on, teaching in the last couple of years now.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I found is, from my own personal experience, was anxiety. I've been fortunate enough where I haven't suffered with depression. I don't know if I just got lucky or if it's not a hereditary thing for me. I've had, like probably any other entrepreneur, I've had my states of like when I've been funky about things, when things didn't go my way, or you lose a big chunk of money, or you're just in a sales slump. And I used to think like, man, I'm depressed. And then you really hear about situations like this with Linkin Park, or the comedian, man, a couple years ago who killed himself. What was his name? Robin Williams, who killed himself. Like, that's true depression, where on the surface you see nothing going on, and then all of a sudden you hear this horrific news. But where anxiety is concerned, so many entrepreneurs, I believe, are afraid and intimidated to seek out mental health because it's such a taboo issue. Whereas if they just dealt with their anxieties, they would literally find that money flows to them easier. They have better, more meaningful relationships with their family and their friends, etc. But again, it's how do you deal with something like anxiety when you think like, well, it's self-provoked. But as it turns out, you look at someone like Richard Branson. He's a super busy dude. You don't see him suffering from anxiety. So it's not just business that causes anxiety. It's just that you don't know how to deal with all that shit. And I think getting help is one of the biggest things people can do.
Yeah, I mean, you're a walking example of that when with your therapist, Kevin, that's his name.
Yeah.
You brought him to our mastermind. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of really good tips. And what was the one exercise that he had you do with anxiety? Remember I think you were
Oh, where
me?
he said follow that anxiety trail?
Yeah, the anxiety trail.
Yeah. So there's two things actually. I'm glad you brought that up. So I brought my therapist Kevin to the mastermind, and it's funny. I thought the group that I was running was going to be empty because I said, hey, I'm bringing my therapist. If you have some issues you want to discuss with the therapist, but you're afraid to go to the therapist, I'm bringing my therapist in. And my group ended up being the most packed, which is pretty cool. Further proof that everybody wants the help, but no one's willing to ask for it until you go, hey, here's the help. But one thing he taught me was like, hey, follow that anxiety trail. So when you're having anxiety, you ask yourself, all right, why am I having this? Like, people forget to stop and ask themselves why this is happening. Because if you ask, why is this happening? You go, oh, because I got a dear friend who I was having dinner with him one night in a different state, and he was completely off. And I could tell he was in a state of anxiety. I was like, hey, what's going on with you? He was off. And I was like, hey, do you mind if we follow this anxiety trail? I can tell something's off with you. And as it turns out, the next morning, and I was going to be at that event, he had a talk to give. And he said, well, that talk has got me in a state of anxiety. All right, let's say you get up there in front of everyone and you give the worst presentation ever. What's the worst case scenario that can happen?
Yep.
So you just keep kind of following, what is the thing? Well, it's the talk. What's the worst case scenario that could happen? Well, people might not want to buy from me. Okay, if they don't buy from you, does that mean you go out of business? No, that just means that, I get to maybe redo this another time in a better fashion. Great. So if you accept the worst case scenario, then you've got really nothing to worry about. Anxiety is just when things pile up in your head. And another thing Kevin taught me, if we're going to teach about this kind of stuff, I imagine people would get benefit from it, is HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And
Can you add something else to it?
Yeah, I did. It's funny as that. So I added, as for entrepreneurs, I added the letter S to it. So it's HALTs, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed. And going back to anxiety, stress, right? Because when you're in a state of hunger, anger, you're lonely, right? As humans, we need companionship, friendship, family, relationships. They say that an alcoholic will go back to alcohol, drug addicts will go back to drugs, sex addicts will go back to, finding hookers and prostitutes, etc. And so if you can be aware during the times that you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stressed, because those are the things that are going to trigger you into a anxiety attack or back down that rabbit hole of darkness, then you can actually have a lot more control over your personal environment.
Awesome. And then on the flip side of the depression and anxiety, stress, is just finding happiness as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and who they call the happiest person in Hollywood, Ryan Seacrest. He has signed up again for American Idol reboot.
Yeah.
And he is definitely a business mogul. I mean, he pretty much produces pretty much everything on the channel.
Net worth of $380 million. I mean, that's substantial, right? That's substantial. And from what I understand, it's anything and everything that has to do with the Kardashians and all spin-offs of it, he's got production control over, right?
He's executive producer.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And being the guy who's known as the happiest man in Hollywood, one must ask, all right, so what's so magical about him? What does he do? Does he take things in stride? Does he laugh at himself? I know I've watched American Idol a lot. I've watched, when he was on, I think it was on Kiss FM when he was the host, right?
He still is.
He still is.
Yeah.
Like, he laughs at himself. I think one of the greatest things that we could do is not take ourselves so seriously and laugh at ourselves. And I think he's great at that, man. He's fantastic at that.
Awesome. So, what do you feel is the difference between being a business mogul, a investor or a business owner, and then an entrepreneur? Like to me, like a mogul would be like somebody who just like dominates a specific space. So if you're like a real estate mogul, you have like the most market share in that business, you know, in the real estate space. Anybody that, you know, asks like who to go to will be mentioning that person. Would you consider Ryan Seacrest like a mogul in entertainment or media space?
Yeah. Specifically, I would say in the gossip-based entertainment, and that's like a big thing, right? I mean, I would look at maybe TMZ and Ryan Seacrest that really own that space, own that conversation.
And like internet media, you're looking at like Facebook and Google, you know, Zuckerberg or Larry Page.
Exactly. And when you start thinking moguls, and then when you start thinking of investors, you look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk who have invested in Facebook.
Like the Shark Tank sharks.
Yeah, the Shark Tank sharks, exactly.
Cuban.
And then of course you've got, you know, business owners, entrepreneurs, and wantrepreneurs. I think that's where we need to put a lot of our stress on. By the way,
she was at the War Room as well. She's an entrepreneur, $1 billion company in Spanx, and owns 100% of her company still.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah. I don't know any other billion dollar companies that's owned by one person.
No, yeah.
It's,
you know who her husband is, right?
Yeah, he hired a Navy SEAL to live with him for a year.
for 30 days. So her husband, who also is a serial entrepreneur, what is her name? I forget her name.
Sarah Blakely.
Sarah Blakely. Her husband hired a David Goggins, who's a Navy SEAL, to live with him for 30 days.
We're trying to get him to speak at FBS, I think.
Yeah, that's right, last year. Exactly. And so I'm going to tell this quick story because it is nuts. So David Goggins comes to live with him for the year, or for the 30 days. But on day one, he goes, all right, pal, how many pull-ups can you do? He goes, I don't know, maybe 8, 9. And he does his 8 pull-ups, and he can't go anymore, and he stops. He goes, all right, let's rest for a couple minutes. Now, how many more? He goes, maybe 6, and he knocks out his 6. All right, well, now how many more? Maybe 3 more. Okay, great. Now we're going to keep going until we reach 100. And that was on day 1.
Nice.
And so it's a fantastic book, and I think it's called...
Doesn't he have like the record for like the most pull-ups?
Yeah. Most pull-ups. He did 100 miles.
Did he lose like 80 pounds or 100 pounds, 180 pounds?
Yeah.
Like
that? I mean, he had a messed up life, and he decided that I'm going to become a Navy SEAL to not only lose the weight, but to become a better human being.
Yeah, I was reading up on when you mentioned him about FBS, and it was saying how he like runs to work and runs back home or bikes to work. It's he's like a long distance runner as well. Like, so he's doing like 20, 30 miles a day almost.
Yeah, but again, talk about, I mean, her husband being a serial entrepreneur, and in his book, he talks about how he was in a rut, right? So a great topic to talk about where mental health is concerned. It's like, man, I'm selling one business to Coca-Cola, another business to another big brand. Like, he had no money problems, but he felt like he was in a rut, he was in a funk, and he wanted to shake things up. And I think that's what we forget a lot of the times to do, is to break out of a routine, go do something fun, live a little, laugh at yourself. And his way of doing that was to get a Navy SEAL to live with him for a month and then document the whole process. And he not only discovered a lot about himself, but he was able to write a book and, of course, leverage that as well.
Yeah, another business that was that's figured out how to have fun is Tinder. Did you hear that they are paying for a guy and a girl on their site to go to Hawaii for a date? They've been communicating on Tinder for like 3 years without ever meeting up. And the guy put out a tweet about it.
Is this them?
Yeah. And the tweet went viral, and Tinder picked it up and offered to send them anywhere in the world on the first date, and they picked Hawaii.
Huh. I wonder what they're going to do when they meet up.
Yeah, they still haven't gone on the...
There's a lot of pent-up sexual energy there, man.
3 years of back and forth.
Yeah. That's awesome, though. By the way, great example, right? So I think you said one of these two people like put the whole screenshots of their...
Yeah, because they were like messaging like every 3 to 4 months, and there's always be like funny excuses.
Yeah.
So then he posted on there the screenshot of their conversation, and he's like, one day, it's going to work out or something like that. And it went viral. Got retweeted like 1 million times.
And then Tinder decides, in a brilliant marketing scheme, Tinder decides, hey, you know what? We can actually make a lot more money if we just help these guys out, send them to Hawaii. And hell, they probably just put them in a cheap hotel with a nice bed, and they're good to go.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, man. For 3 years?
For 3 years, back and
Holy
forth.
Smokes.
So that's one of the good things that Tinder's been through, but every business has its ups and downs. And one of the other, one of the things that Tinder was known for, not on the bad side, was that they didn't give credit to one of the co-founders, who happened to be a female, Whitney Wolf, and so she actually went on to create Bumble.
Bumble.
But so there are, you're going to have your ups and downs, but you got to, stay focused and remember how to have fun, how to leverage opportunities when they arrive, and.
Yeah, she was up there in their management team, but yeah, she was not happy with Tinder and went on to create Bumble. So again, many more lessons in this. Like, when you think that you don't have any more options or resources, You just got to get resourceful. I mean, she went out, literally created a site or an app that competes against Tinder, and now Bumble's dominating as well. So I hear from Chanta.
Yeah.
Right.
Same
not
here.
from personal experience. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's just move on to our problem solver game, and I guess I'll go ahead and start with. I have a couple questions for you to solve, and they could be hypothetical. They could not be. The first one is you have this idea for a new startup. It could potentially be a 500 million plus company, but in order to launch it right, you need some big influencers and celebrities. So how do you get them to be involved and on your side so you can actually get this thing off the ground after a year and a half?
Yeah, that's a man, after a year and a half. So that's where you get me as a timeline, right? And so what I would say is I would do what I'm doing now, which I'm always connecting, I'm always coming with a giving hand, I'm always asking how can I serve you? Because the way I look at it is that to me is favors in the bank, right? So whether it's an author, a TV celebrity, a big entrepreneur, I've got so many favors stored up in the bank that maybe that author doesn't have the money I'm looking for, the equity, which was, holy smokes, man, $500 million. Oh, but I mean.
That's the potential the company could become worth.
But I'm looking for an investor.
Right.
But
it's really just looking for the influencer or the celebrity to actually get it started. The money's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's just that you can't do it without them.
Yeah. And by the way, so like someone might say, well, hey, I haven't been putting those, the time in the bank. So then to me, the next best thing is to reach out to people via direct message. Because no time than now are we able to connect with people who were otherwise unreachable, man. I was talking to Alex Morocco, Jason Capital, and he was talking about how one of his students, one of his coaching students, who's like socially awkward and all this, reached out to a couple of LA Lakers and through direct message and connected with them, and like they invited him to a party at some nightclub in Hollywood.
Nice.
Like when else would that happen? Because you would see them on TV, but there'd be no way to connect with them.
Yeah.
So today we've got like direct message between Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, it's nuts.
So just try to reach out to them directly.
Yeah.
And
that would be my strategy.
What kind of offer would be appealing to somebody like that?
You know, at that point, if I'm that sure that it might be a 500 million plus company, I would say, look, I've got this offer that I'm willing to give you 50% equity in. I'm just going to come with a giving hand. If I haven't built goodwill over time, then I'm going to come with a giving hand and say, hey, look, let me explain it to you. I want to give you 50% of the company. And, by the way, when I do, I'm going to do all the heavy lifting. And so really all you're looking for from them is the injection of capital or the introductions to more people who can open up doors for you. Yeah.
Awesome. Number 2, as a business owner, you want to create a fun work environment as well as a productive one. So how do you manage, and draw the line of being too strict and productive while also creating a fun company culture, a place where people want to work?
So that's a really good question, and I actually suffered through that between 2014 and all the way to late 2015, so almost 2 whole years. And I would want to create a great culture for my staff, and so I would come first with, hey, Starbucks coffee on me all the time. Hey, I'm having a barbecue at my house. And then I would expect, oh, maybe at work now, they're gonna come in on time, they're gonna leave late, they're gonna do the work, they're gonna serve my clients, and I found that they didn't. So really the process is this, and I know this for a fact, and I wrote about it in my book, is you set the expectations first, you get the results, and then you reward them for the results. And when you go that way first, instead of here's the reward up in advance, and then without setting expectations, hoping that they might do the actions that will make you happy or drive your business forward, which never happens, what that actually creates is a sense of resentment in you, because then you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I just did all this for you, and you did nothing for me, right? And so it's about having that open communication and the tough talks that people don't want to have, to say, guys, I want X, Y, and Z from you, and if we do X, Y, and Z, this is how our culture can look over the next 12 months. And then it's the leader's job to then set the pace and do it.
Yeah. Did you notice a difference when you first started with just an assistant and then 1 employee, 2 employees, and there had to be a more laid back environment at that point, and then when it got to a certain number of employees, you can't hire everybody that's going to give their best interest in the company and give their best effort, because everybody else is wired to do the opposite as an employee. So was there like a number that you have in mind where you had to transition or switch to being more, have more guidelines and more rules and more,
Yeah, that's a good question. At about 20 team members, 20 employees, I cringe calling them employees. My team, they're team members. And when you look at a team, it's a group of people playing a specific sport with a desired outcome.
And with each person having a specific role.
Yeah, exactly. So at the headquarters, I've got our 40 team members who are playing a specific sport, the franchise sport, building up small businesses with a specific outcome of you buy a Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, and we're going to help you, 5x, 10x your personal income, right? So when you look at it that way, an employee to me is someone who clocks in, clocks out, and does the bare minimum to maintain their job. And so that's something that I think most people should change their vernacular on. But right around 20 people, 20 team members, I found that, we have to start creating the alien abduction manuals. We have 3-ring binders, and every quarter, the whole team starts, okay, this is what I do every day in my job.
Yep.
And so that if someone gets hit by a bus, abducted by an alien, gets fired, then we just go, here's the binder to the new person that we've trained up. And now we have a 5-interview process before we even hire someone. And so it starts off with we have teams like web development team, media team, content writer team. Like a regular person in the web development team will do the first interview for skill sets. And then the team lead will do the interview for skill sets and personality. And then one of our leaders, our VPs, either Sean Kershaw or Joan, will do a personality interview. Because at that point, by the time it works its way up, we don't know what skills. we assume you have the skill sets. And then director of HR does it. Her name is Kathy. And then finally, I do the last interview. And the last 3 interviews, we're just looking for indicators of
red flags or anything.
Yeah, that the person is a loser,
Yeah.
right? And if you're a loser, we don't want to bring you on board.
Like the guy said he was in the military but wasn't or something.
Yes, yeah, true story. We had a guy, London, check this out. We had a guy who interviewed with us, and at that time it was like a 2 or 3 step process. But even then, the last person was Sean Kershaw, who's a Marine, right? And he's our compliance officer. And Sean knew something was up. He got some weird vibe off of him, but whatever. The next day at work, Sean's training him, and he asked him hey, what was your job? What was it called, MO or something? Right? What was your what was your MO in the Marine Corps? And the guy started to fumble, and he was like, oh, whatever, radio operator. And is it the whatever radio it is, a flex capacitor 2400, right? And the guy was befuddled. He went on a lunch break, never came back. Yeah. And so now my goal is to do that process via the interview process early on, and really ask them a lot of intrusive questions that they're either going to bounce because they're like, hey, I don't want to work here, or they're going to roll with the punches. And if they're a good personality fit, they're going to rock.
Awesome.
All right, and this is actually a real question that I got in my direct message 2 days ago, Saturday. So a dude, and I hate these Hail Mary questions, so I'd rather you answer it, and I'm going to take your answer.
Carlo loves these. Let's send them to Carlo.
Yeah, I should. I'm going to take your answer. Hopefully he's watching, but I'm going to take your answer and send it to him. You only have $400. You don't know how to market your personal training business, but you're desperate and you need 30 clients this month to stay in business. What do you do?
Cool. So I'm giving advice to this guy. I'm not this guy, right?
You're not this guy.
Okay.
You're giving advice to this guy, or you are this guy, and
Well, he came to the right person first of all. So, but when I first heard it where you say you don't know how to market your business, so I got to figure out how to do it without marketing.
Right.
But so if I only had $400, I mean the $400 is really irrelevant because you can get 30 people for free. I always say you either have time or you have money. So if you don't have money, then you have plenty of time. So just like we talked about last time, one of the first ways before I knew how to do any marketing, I grew my personal training business was just going up to total strangers and ask them if they've ever done a bootcamp workout before. They say yes, or if they say no, the answer is always the same. Great. I just started a boot camp down the streets. Inside, got air conditioning. I'd love for you to come and try it out and give me your opinion on it. People like to give their opinion. And if you go up to them and ask them if they can help you out for a second, people like to help too. So you can usually stop them when you ask for help and just ask them, hey, have you ever done a boot camp workout before? And I'd always profile the person. If they're female with yoga pants and running shoes, then it wasn't even a choice. I had to go talk to them. And most people probably won't do that, and if you're not willing to, do something that you're comfortable with or that you're afraid of, then you probably fall in that category of a wantrepreneur, and it's probably need to go find a job. I talk fast, I mumble, I hated talking, the idea of talking to strangers, but I knew I wanted to grow my business at any cost, and if that's what it took, because that's all I had. I didn't have the other resources in Facebook. We weren't really running Facebook ads at the time. Didn't really know anybody else to leverage, their distribution. I just, I made my goal, not going home until I get 5 names and numbers, no matter what. I remember you and Steve always used to talk about the gun to the head method.
Yeah.
If you had a gun to your head, you would figure out how to get those 5 names and numbers, and I just took it literally and did that. So that's one thing that I would do, but I wouldn't just rely on that. I would also go and find, who has these 30 people that I need in order to keep my doors open, and who services them in a non-competing way. And I would go to them and with a giving hand like you were talking about before. So what I did, like when we first started in the gymnastics center, the gymnastics center I started at, first of all, they didn't even have any email addresses. So the first thing I told them was like, you guys need to start doing some email marketing. So I had them, every time their moms came in and signed their kids in, now there was a section for them to put their email in. And within like 2 weeks, they got like 5,000 emails. And at that point, you know, I was teaching them how to do email marketing, and you had written the 14-day fat furnace email. So I just, you know, wrote it like it was coming from them, and I told them that, you know, I have a fundraising program to help raise some money for like gymnastic camps, uniforms, new equipment. I know you guys are always doing fundraisers. You're doing like bake sales, car washes, pumping gas, standing on the corner with like 5-gallon buckets, trying not to get hit by cars. I have a much safer way, and you know, the average like car wash, if they're out there all day long, they might make like $300. So it was an easy sell. I was like, it's a 14-day program. I wrote the emails for you. All you have to do is send them out to the emails I helped you, you know, collect. And it's $47, 14 days. I'm gonna give you 100% of that $47. I'm gonna show you all the transactions that come in and be totally transparent and just write you a check.
Wait, now wait a minute. Let me play devil's advocate. But Jeff, I just told you I don't have money. If I need the money, why would I give away the $47 from all those people?
So you have 30 days before you close your doors. Now you have, the first time I did that, they sent out one email. The first email I had 56 people come in. So now I have 2 weeks to sell those 56 people. I had to get those 30 before, you know. Yeah. Actually, if that was the first day or second day, I'd really have 2 weeks after the 2 weeks.
Yeah. But and that's exactly the message I was trying to get across. Is so many people focus on that front end money. Well, why am I giving away 52 people times $47?
Yeah.
It's like, because you have 52 people times $147 a month that you can close them on, and that's
we're doing $197.
Right.
Even in a dirty gymnastics center with no air conditioning and still selling at, you know, $197. So yeah, I ended up getting like 34 full paying members at $200 a month, $197 a month from that process. So I would definitely do that, and then from there, you know, you can go to a hair salon and chiropractor, you know, anywhere that there's kids, like my gyms, like the laser tag places, you know, any place that caters to kids, that they all have moms. You just have to go to them in the right way. Like if you go to them and you know, trying to either help them make money, it comes across like sketchy, like because they have like a way, they have their business model and the way they make money. So if you go to like, hey, I have a way that you can make some more money, they're not going to be that interested because they're going to think that you're trying to benefit yourself. So you have to go in with like a charity that they can get behind and support, whether it's their charity. So I always look for businesses that are promoting a charity or promoting a 5K, or maybe it's something that they believe in, that maybe their family members suffering with or whatever, and then just piggyback on that. Like, hey, I saw you put out a campaign about Susan G. Komen or whatever, 5K. Yeah. I'd love to help you raise some more money, for that. And here's how we can do it. And then they're not going to say no when you do it that way. But if you just go there and be like, hey, if you sell 10 of them, that's like $470. You sell 20, it's like almost $1,000 that you're going to make. They're like, okay, I don't need to make, my business is making pretty good money. I don't need to make side money kind of thing. But a charity, yeah, a much better chance.
It always works.
And the $400, and if those two things didn't work, take the $400 and go to like somebody that knows how to market, like our agency, like Fitness Marketer, and I would just give them the $400 for ad spend, and I would tell them, hey, here's the $400 for ad spend. It's all I have. I can't pay you to manage it, but whatever we make on the front end, you guys can have. I know that's not your model, but I would just do that and see what they could do.
I can just see a lot of people reaching out to Carlo right now saying, I got $400. I can't pay you. Use the $400 to run the ads, and you can keep the money from it.
Hey, well, actually, he'd probably say yes.
Yeah, he probably would. Yeah, Carlo's a hustler. He would. That's it. That's it. All right, so I got one more question for you where that's concerned. You have a great business idea. It's very similar to the one you asked me, but it's a little more specific. You have a great business idea, and you know that it's a winner, but you need to raise $4 million to create and launch this business.
$4 million. So that is something I haven't done, but if I had to, so back in like October 2016, they passed a law that they've been trying to pass for a while that allows people to invest in businesses that aren't accredited investors. So pretty much any business can have an IPO, up to $1 million. And I think they have to make like $40,000 a year, and then depending on how much they make, they can invest a certain amount. It's like $2,000, something like that. So you can do your own crowdfunding. You have to do it through the SEC portal up to like $1 million. Then you can run Facebook ads to an offer, to a page, and have a video just kind of like Kickstarter, but do it kind of on your own. And so you can raise up to $1 million that way. The other thing I would do like an Indiegogo campaign and try to crowdfund it that way. And at this point in my life, I have a lot of great resources and know a lot of people, so I would ask favors from friends like you to put me in front of the right kind of people that could invest the difference that I couldn't get on my own.
Yep, I like that. I think the theme of this show is really about building social equity so that you can cash it in at a future date.
Yep.
You know?
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about my favorite. This is my favorite section, the Would You Rather game. And these are all rapid fire,
So
and of course, you're going to ask me questions.
This week's questions were designed by none other than London, so they're a little edgier than normal because
Right.
Jackie usually comes up with the Would You Rather questions. So don't take it personally from me. You can, if you have a problem, you can talk to
Hey,
London.
no worries, man.
So, all right, you ready?
Yes.
Would you rather smell like poop and not know it, or constantly be smelling poop that nobody else can smell?
I would rather constantly be smelling poop than smell like poop and not know it.
Yeah, I would pick the same thing. Would you rather wear someone else's dirty underwear or use someone else's toothbrush?
Oh, God. I would.
Does she know that you're a germaphobe?
I hate both. I hate both. I'd rather take cavities and free ball it, personally. But having said that, I'd probably, oh, Lord. Oh, I'd rather wear someone else's dirty underwear because that's just the skin touching. It's not in my mouth.
All right, number 3. Would you rather swim 300 meters naked with naked Carlo on your back or swim through 300 meters of dead bodies? I think I know the answer to this one.
I think you might be shocked, but I think I'd rather have naked Carlo on my
No, that's
back.
what I was going to pick. I know
okay.
you don't care about that.
Yeah. No, what? I'll say, Carlo, just use that thing as a rudder. We're good. We're good.
You sure? Because like that's like.
I don't know.
Nice.
I'll take that over that. That's it.
Carlo's
That's too
looking
creepy.
good, man. He must be
Yeah.
working out.
Yeah, look at him. Look at the smile on his face. Jacked.
Nice. Last one. Would you rather have vagina for ears or penises for fingers?
Oh, man. I would probably rather have vaginas for ears. Then I'd be definitely fingering my ears a lot. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Don't hang up, everybody. Don't hang up. This is a G-rated show. All right, I got some questions for you.
All right.
All right. Would you rather eat a large bowl of Carlo's vomit? I don't know why we keep bringing up Carlo here.
It's a theme of the
Or lick a random hobo's
I can't even look at those pictures. I don't think I could physically eat a large bowl of Carlo's vomit. So if it's just like a little lick, I think I'm going to have to go with the little lick of the hobo's foot.
Okay.
Ugh.
I think I'm with you on that. I would do the same thing. I would actually take if I could avoid a large bowl of Carlo's vomit, I'd take a strong, healthy lick of a hobo's. No offense,
It's going to be
Carlo,
over
I
quick.
love you.
Like after that first bite, I couldn't continue. Then it's too
I
late.
would
You
just
already
throw up in that bowl, yeah. All right. Would you rather win $50,000 or let your best friend win $500,000 and you can split it?
No, you can't split it. So,
And you can't split it. I'm sorry, and you can't split it.
yeah, so $50,000 isn't life-changing, but $500,000 to my friend potentially could be. And if he knows that I gave up that for him, then there's that social equity, like you said.
Yeah.
Even though I can't split it, but what he does with that in the future, he might be able to help me out with something. So I
this
would go
guy,
with the
always
$500,000 to the friend.
That's actually really good. That's exactly what I would do, and I think that's a very generous gesture of you. Eat a potato or feel its pain.
And feel its pain.
Oh, eat a potato and feel its pain, or be a potato.
Yeah, eat a potato and feel its pain. That's the easy one.
Yeah. I mean, how much pain does a potato feel? Who
All
knows?
right, and it's going to
All
be
right.
over soon anyway.
Got
You're
one
gonna
more.
Be a potato forever.
Have glitchy Wi-Fi wherever you go, or have one day of old coffee. One day old coffee for the rest of your life.
Yeah, this is it's kind of tough and not really because I do love coffee, but I love Wi-Fi better. So I need in this day and age, unless they're coming out with some new technology where Wi-Fi be irrelevant, I'm gonna have to go with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, same here. I bet you like day old coffee is a delicacy somewhere, right? It's got to be.
It's gotta be super strong. Maybe
Don't they have like
I got an acquired taste for it after a while.
the Filipinos? Joan told me this. They have something called a 100-day-old egg. So what's a one-day-old coffee? I'll take my Wi-Fi all day. Yeah. Great call. All right, unicorn sighting time.
Awesome. This is our new logo. If you guys didn't see it last week, these are the shirts that we're giving away, a rare breed. And this week, it's none other than Stephen Hadley.
Stephen Hadley. Yeah, this guy. So here's why I chose Stephen Hadley this week is because here's a guy who's humble. I think you're going to notice a theme with all the unicorns, at least that I pick. And probably same with you. I know you like this guy. He's humble, and he's a superstar Fit Body Bootcamp owner. Many people don't know of this, but his Fit Body Bootcamp does the equivalent of what most people's 2 or 3 gyms do.
And that's what I was gonna say. Like it's it's kind of cool and prestigious to say multiple locations, but he really just forgot about that and hyper focused, and it's been the best in his area at his one gym, and yet his one location does at least what the average 3 probably do.
Yeah, exactly. And what he does, and I think the American Indians have a term for it, he uses what is it, like every piece of the pig, right? Like when he has maximized his Fit Body Bootcamp in every single way and has turned that one location to a 7-figure location.
He's got his Fit Body Forever going now.
And that's the big thing, is he's actually our first Fit Body Bootcamp owner to now launch his Fit Body Forever program as a separate standalone.
Nice.
Yeah, which is right next door. So they've got like a door that they share, but now he can run both programs
all day long.
Yep.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah, so congratulations to you, Steven.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
Yeah, and he's always like reaching out to people and helping them, and never like beats his chest. Just an awesome cat all around.
A great fisherman as well.
Yes.
Might be coming out with a fishing info product or newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.